Good evening, everybody. This is Mike Tedesco of Wrestleview.com. I'm going to be joined here momentarily by Victoria, ready to bring you Post-Raw number 141. Wow. You know, I was thinking about while I was setting up tonight, we've been doing this show for over 3 years now. I can't believe how long we've been doing Post-Raw. Oh, we got Victoria here.
Hello.
With our Christmas decorations behind her.
Mm-hmm.
So, welcome to the show, everybody. We are talking about Monday Night Raw from Memphis, Tennessee, or as The Miz did a wonderful throwback to Andy Kaufman saying Memphis, Tennessee. If you remember those old classic promos when he was feuding with Jerry the King Lawler in the 1980s, one of the great pro wrestling feuds ever.
Just one of those things that Miz is also good for, just to give us a little throwback.
He knows his wrestling history.
Wrestling
history.
He's a real fan.
We may be joined in a little while by somebody who knows a lot about wrestling history, Mr. Andrew Elder, who was at the FedEx Forum tonight, looking at what WWE had to present tonight.
I'm so happy he was able to actually go.
Yes.
Just because you never know what the craziness of the world these days and how busy everybody is. It's like the fact that he was actually able to go. Like, I'm just curious to talk to him about an event in person. Like, what's it like?
I know.
I haven't talked to anybody who's actually been there.
I'd be very curious to find out myself. I really would. We got Uncle Billy in the chat room tonight. We got Mr. V. Hola, Mr. V. ¿Cómo estás?
Oh, you're not going to do this every week, are you?
Wow. Why not? Okay.
Please don't do it.
Oh, lo siento mucho.
Oh my God.
The number one superfan has finally arrived. We got Quentin Walters here with us tonight. All right. So we're expecting Andrew Elder. He did say that he's home and he's taking care of a few things and he will be calling in. But wow, we got so this Raw from Memphis. They booked a couple things on the show, you know, and lately they've been announcing things and following through on them, which is huge.
That is a story in itself.
For the longest time, what they were doing was they would promote something, but you know what they kind of got smart here. Randy Torcola here tonight. Hello, Randy. They kind of got smart here tonight or recently where let me switch these cameras here so I'm not looking off into the sunset. Where Machoon Walls is here as well. All right. We're getting the crowd is piling in now. Daniel Schell. Where they would announce something on Raw for the next week's Raw. I know we got 60-mile-an-hour winds going on outside of us. They would announce something, but like, you know, in like a week, a lot of things can change in WWE.
Of course.
And then they never
naturally.
Now they announce stuff on SmackDown. It's like, well, we only have like what, you know, two more days to wait, and it's Monday. It's like they hopefully have a pretty good idea of what's going to happen on the show.
Right. Like you want like at least a general idea.
Right. So they booked for tonight Big E versus Kevin Owens in a steel cage match, a non-title steel cage match, though nobody told Jimmy, what's his face? Jimmy Smith.
Oh my God.
I like
wow.
I do want to talk to Jimmy Smith tonight. Nobody told Jimmy Smith that it was a non-title match. And he was like, oh, Big E's gonna be defending himself. It's like, yes, because I mean, kind of why would you book a steel cage match if it's not for the title? But
right.
Whatever. Whatever. They also booked Edge as a special guest on Miz TV.
They did.
Which I never understood, like why you would accept an invitation to be on your enemy's talk show. But
actually, you know what? It's a good tactic. A lot of people.
I guess so.
Actually, real life talk shows, they do that sometimes as well.
Yeah. I guess.
Shows you're the bigger person.
Yes. And of course, Becky Lynch versus Liv Morgan on the 17th anniversary. 17 years since Trish Stratus and Lita.
That's insane.
No, wait. Is it 17 years?
I don't know. Is it?
It's 2004.
I'm not good with math.
16 years.
Okay, well, it's still a long time.
No. It's 17 years.
I don't know. I don't know math.
I'm trying to think. I don't know. It's 17 years.
Wait, 2004 you said?
Yeah, it's 17 years. 4 plus 7.
Yes.
So on
Yeah.
on
Okay.
the 17th year anniversary of Trish Stratus versus Lita, the first Raw Women's Main Event ever, they give us Becky Lynch versus Liv Morgan, and it was something. You know, this show was riddled with awful finishes. Not everybody was kind of working hard tonight, but man, some of the finishes were just the pits on this show, just the absolute pits. We'll talk about that. Let's get into the show now while we wait for Mr. Elder to call in here. The show kicked off in a big way. I mean, you can't say that it did not. You can't say K anniversary. K anniversario.
V, don't encourage him.
I'll see it. We know.
Stop.
I look, I don't know that much. You're lucky that I don't know that much conversational Spanish yet. I mean, if you want
you're gonna
to
start like random conversation with
if
people.
you want me to ask how to get a blue pen, I can do that. If you want me to talk about my reloj, I can do that.
Oh my God. Please stop. Please stop.
If you want me to have un sandwich de pescado,
No.
I can certainly eat one of those on the air.
Oh my God.
You know, I can do that, but I can't do much more.
Have you learned how like to say you're annoying in Spanish yet?
No.
Okay.
Pregunta.
What?
Can you leave me alone?
Can you leave me alone?
Anyway. Una pregunta. Okay. So the show kicks off in a big way with a steel cage match. WWE Champion Big E versus Kevin Owens. I mean, they are 2/3 of a triple threat match at day one, with a match that also involves Seth Rollins, who actually did win the #1 contendership, and got kind of bamboozled to get Kevin Owens into that match. They actually have a very good steel cage match. Yes. We got him here. So we're going to talk about the steel cage match, but first we have to say hello to this gentleman here, live from Memphis, Tennessee. Well, not really from Memphis. I don't know about that, but we got Mr. Andrew Elder here. Mr. Elder, how are you, sir?
Hey, I'm doing fine. Just got back home. They thought, they had advertised a fatal 4-way dark match, but they didn't have it. I saw Mike Rome was started putting on his jacket, and they were just standing around, not knowing what they were going to do. So they walked. We left. So, but it was pretty good night. I was surprised that the crowd that we had a pretty big crowd for.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, I think the biggest thing was they really pushed media wise local. They had a lot of the WWE stars, especially Damian Priest was on Fox 13, really pushing big hard to get people to come out, and they had a big ticket push because I think the guy I follow that WrestleTix guy said that they had about 280 tickets left. So
wow.
So they had a big hard push.
Oh, so the forum did fill up. I mean, when I was sitting in the crowd, there was a couple times where it sounded a little quiet at certain points in the show, especially during that steel cage match. We were just getting into talking about the beginning of the show with the steel cage match.
Yeah, the biggest thing, and I don't know if it's just it's kind of a Memphis thing that you just kind of sit there and you're kind of like, well, you take in the match and you kind of enjoy it. It gets quiet like that. That's kind of the Memphis style. So when they come down here, you're gonna get a lot more quiet moments than you get anywhere else.
I remember in Have a Nice Day, Mick Foley talking about being very kind of like shocked when he went over to Japan for like the first time. Bless you.
Thank you.
When he went over to Japan for the first time. And he's doing all this stuff, and they were just kind of sitting on their hands, not doing anything. But it wasn't that he was having like a terrible match. It's just that they just sit and appreciate the wrestling while it's happening.
So Andrew, you're telling us you're not like our area where everyone's just loud 24/7 and literally like a French fry falls on the floor and everyone's screaming about it. And
Yeah, it's a different crowd, and you go in different areas, and that's how it is. When they go in different areas, where they go like where y'all are, it's like kind of like balls to the wall continually.
it is, it really
And
is.
then here is kind of more laid back, the southern style of wrestling, but you take it in more.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense.
Down
It's actually
here, it moves a little slower. That's it. That's all it is.
Yeah.
They enjoy life. Here
do.
everybody's
Here
like,
everyone's like,
oh, we gotta get all
oh,
crazy around here. It's like, and then you can't even enjoy the show because then they start trying to make themselves the stars.
No, literally
Down in
everyone's
Memphis, they still know wrestling.
Everyone's
they remember when wrestling was good.
No, when you're up here, it's another.
You don't even have people that were wrestling fans, come to these shows anymore. Really, like they're these new fair weather fans, that they haven't been in it long in the long run. They watch a show and they're like, oh my gosh, I remember that guy Tyler Rex was like one of my favorites when I was a kid. It's like, what?
Okay, so what's interesting, and we'll kind of get off this topic after, but I've never been to a show in another area like that wasn't like a big show. Like I've been to WrestleMania in Florida.
Yeah.
But that's different because you're getting people from all over. You know what I mean? I've never been to like another really show that wasn't on like the East Coast. So I would be curious to go
to it.
No, we were traveling. You know what I mean?
Oh man, I really want to see that show in October.
Okay, you know what though? Listen, don't make fun of me. I'd be curious to go because I feel like I would be a little out of place.
I'm actually curious. Here's what I'm curious about. Now. Andrew Elder's very much like us. If the show is in his zip code, he's going to be there. And it's been a long time for us since we've been to a show. The last show that Victoria and I were at was Elimination Chamber. The week everything shut down in March of 2020. The last show, Andrew, you were at was January 2020. Tell us about the experience of going to a WWE live event in a I don't want to say we're post-pandemic yet because we're not there yet now with all these new variants coming out still, but in the pandemic era, how did it did it feel different? Was it kind of nerve-wracking to be there a little bit? How was the experience getting in? How were the people around you? Were they acting what you would say as normal wrestling fans, or was it a little different? Just give us a rundown on the whole experience of pandemic wrestling.
Well, I know, initially the whole thing was, and that's probably what kept the crowds down, was that they initially had the protocols in place. It was about 2 weeks ago that they pulled all the protocols out that, you don't have to wear a mask. You don't have to bring either a test or show that you're vaccinated. So that changed some things out, but it's different. One of the things, there's no more paper ticket. It's digital. There's you come in, you have your ticket on your Ticketmaster app or whatever app, and you scan that in. I mean, they still do the thing where you have to put your keys, if you have keys and your stuff. They still do the security check, but there's no more paper ticket. There's no more. If you go to the concession, you better have a credit card or something because there's no cash anymore.
Oh wow! So they're not even taking cash at this place now.
No, there's no more cash.
How?
I mean, the workers were wearing masks. Some people were wearing masks, some weren't. I opted to not wear the mask, but your part of you is you're kind of like you in the back of your head, or at least to me, is like, I just hope, down the road or something, you don't hear, oh, somebody got tested for COVID and, hey, you've got to go get tested. There is that fear, but then, there's part of it's kind of like you can't let it, so part of it's kind of, it's very, it's in the back of your head. Definitely, I'm make sure and keep my hand, wash my hands and all that stuff. It's just, in fact, with this COVID, it's just made me even more doing all this stuff. But it's just it's kind of a little bit different. It was kind of some of it was, I mean, it was kind of like normal fans. It was kind of like back to being it was just different. It was something like I can't believe, it's kind of like, oh wow, I missed this. This is something I missed when we had that, where we had the no fans, the
Oh, the
Thunderdome.
Thunderdome. Oh,
It's just, it's a different experience. Because even on the Fox 13, Damian Priest was like, that's our thing. That we, I get the energy from the crowd, and we miss that energy. So it was different in that. It was it wasn't. It was kind of it's kind of weird. You're in this what you right now because we're not post pandemic. I don't know when we'll be post pandemic. It may be several years from now. I don't know, and that's kind of a bad thing to think of it. It may be something which I think
yeah.
that's going to be, but we're going to have to live with this. It will become like the flu, and that's something we'll have to live with. But we're right now. I would say I will still call it. We're in the pandemic era of wrestling.
No,
Yeah.
I would definitely agree with that. I think that you made a good point before though about how, and Mike and I were talking about this the other day, because here you have to show your vaccination card. Like you can't get into these places, these events without showing it.
Yeah.
Granted though, it's still, you don't know who you're sitting next to. You know what I mean? Somebody could be asymptomatic. It doesn't matter. You have vaccination card and you still could have COVID. So it's like, really, it's just, I think, a personal preference at this point, or how comfortable you are in attending these events. I remember when we were at Elimination Chamber and kind of the world was doing its thing at the time. And I remember saying to myself, like, I sat next to Mike and I'm like, are we okay? Like, are we all right? And then, like, initially at the time, Mike's like, yeah, fine. Like, no big deal, Then you saw somebody like coughing in front of you and you're like, whatever. And I do kind of wonder when you're ever really going to feel comfortable, like going to these things, I feel like you go at your own sort of like, with lack of a better term here, like at your own risk. You know what I mean? Like whatever
Yeah.
you're comfortable with, Mike and I opted out of the recent show here. We did,
Well, I mean, look. I mean, look. If we're gonna go to Survivor Series, like, it's one thing to go for the experience, like, I guess, just to be there. But like, I'm not really in like a rush to put myself at risk yet. After almost 2 years of being as careful as I possibly can be, and I've had a few close calls, with people directly around me that like a day later or 2 days later, they came down with COVID and I never got it. I've been tested and stuff like that, but but like, if I'm going to go to a show and put myself at risk, it's certainly not going to be a Survivor Series where nothing means anything. And look, I mean, like, no one's even talking about Survivor Series anymore. It's like, what was the whole point of that?
Yeah, I for me, it was kind of like it was even debatable. Even now, I was like kind of deciding, do I want to go or not? And I ended up going, well, yeah, because I haven't been to. I mean, I haven't been in a restaurant for almost a year and more.
Wow.
And even I know people are going to be shocked. Oh, you didn't wear a mask tonight, but when I go in public places, I do go a mask. I did notice Daniel, I can see in the chat, said something about Memphis is, and I know he's trying to get a little bit political, and this is only political. Memphis is not a red. We are in a red state, but Memphis is blue and it's liberal as everything, and the red state hates us. It's just the state's protocol dictated now. The new law here in the state of Tennessee, we can't do that because Memphis was big time, just keeping it, and it was just until the state now controls. They passed a law that's changed, but had it been down to it, we would probably still had the protocols in place. But that was a state decision,
right?
And also it was a decision that has been also for your sports franchises and the sporting authorities of like NBA and all that stuff.
True.
Oh,
That's true.
you know, it's just rules. So, you know, I mean, I can see in that, you know, and I don't want to get all political, but when I see something like that, oh, Memphis is right wing. No, Memphis is not right wing. You know, I don't consider myself anything. I don't label myself anything political or anything like that.
Right.
But if you want to take it down, Memphis is blue and a red state. So, you know,
I would say almost every single major metropolitan area, a city, most of them are all blue.
I think just to get one slight little thing of the political is Nashville is very small. We're very tiny, small of it, the state is I'll say it is blood red.
Yeah, I would say so too. Big red machine.
Yeah, it's typical of, you know, the South is pretty blood red. So yeah,
particularly Mayor Kane, mayor of Knox County. Big red machine. That's Tennessee now.
Yeah.
So
But,
Andrew,
yeah.
So your first show back after almost 2 years of not seeing any professional wrestling, what was your favorite moment from tonight?
Well, let me see. My favorite moment. Well, that's gonna be a tough one because part of me wants to say seeing the fans back and getting that experience because, you know, in between, like when there's timeouts, the fans are really getting into it. They had 3 different little cam segments while y'all were getting commercials and stuff. We had the beard cam, the dance cam, the people.
That's so funny.
Did you get on the dance cam?
No, I didn't get on any cams. I was like,
oh,
you know, I know, and I don't know if this is going to be breaking news or what, but I know for a fact that Andrew Elder is an excellent dancer. I just know it. I just know he is. It's like.
Are you an excellent dancer,
I don't
Andrew?
know it to be true. I just know that it's true.
I don't know. I'm not the dancer, but yeah.
Did they send Jerry Lawler out there at all?
He was in the back. I don't know if it got on TV.
It did, yeah, with Nikki Ash.
Yeah, that was the only thing.
Really?
That was only, and we couldn't even hear what he was saying because people went loud and you couldn't hear it. You know, and when we get to another part, there was a part where they did have audio in the arena, but the audio was like cutting out for parts of it. And,
like any Vince McMahon segment's gonna do that. I like we've been in the arena for old man. I mean, like, you know, I mean I was in the arena when Vince was, you know, Attitude Era Vince, like when he actually had a voice still.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen Vince McMahon many times through the years, but old man Vince is impossible to hear on the loudspeaker. Well, I imagine that was one of them.
That actually cut out was that Riddle and Randy Orton segment that was backstage. That kind of cut out.
You didn't miss much.
No. You know, I think that was kind of, I know we'll get to it later, but that was a disappointment that, you know, RK Bro didn't wrestle or anything. That was kind of the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure that would have been cool to see, obviously, in person, you know. Where did you sit, Andrew?
Sit in the kind of middle area on the camp side with the could see the ring pretty good. Yeah,
that's perfect. Yeah, well, usually when we go to a show, we try to sit on the camera side, not the hard cam side where we'd be on TV. I'd rather just sit because like if you sit on the side that's going to be on TV, when they do their poses and stuff like that, their back's always to you. The finish is always away from you, you know, because they're always going to the hard cam. So I try to sit as close as I possibly can to the hardcore, to the hard camera side. Excuse me. Buenas noches, Mr. V. Senor V.
And but where we sat was pretty nice. Where I got tickets was where I sat. Nobody was sitting next to me because it was actually by where they have the handicap people, where handicap and disabled people can sit. So I had this rail thing in front next to me. There wasn't anything. My uncle sat next to me, and he didn't. There was just one person next to him. So
there you go.
Oh, you can't beat that.
Oh, that's perfect. You're actually in the best situation right there.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
For me, I'd rather like the less people. I mean, the only thing is like, God, I tell you, I wish one of these days that they fix seats where you sit in it and it's not like you're feeling like you're squished in tight.
Oh, okay. Andrew,
Uh-oh.
I'm so glad you brought that
Here we
up
go.
because pre-pandemic, I'm a very claustrophobic person. Like at these shows, and you can ask Mike, there have been so many times that I've asked Mike, I'm like, can we please move? Can we please move? Can we please move? Can we please move? If I don't get like an end seat or in that area, if I feel like I can't get out,
Yeah.
you know, whether you go to the bathroom, get a drink, get
Yeah.
food, or whatever, I want nothing to do with it. I have become so intolerable. And like, I won't accept now an end seat. I will not do it. Like, I literally asked Mike, I go, is that an end seat? Please make sure it's an end seat. We have moved so many times. So many times. I don't want people around me.
There are people that are offensive in their smells, for sure.
Yeah, I know.
I remember I had the asthma attack the one year.
I remember because the person was wearing gas station perfume. I remember that. Yes, yes. I also remember vividly No Way Out 2012, which was on Father's Day, where Vince McMahon came out and fired John Laurinaitis. And there's a guy sitting behind us in gym shorts, and like anytime he moved, like you just caught this like waft of like horror
Okay.
coming from the shorts.
All right,
It's just,
please. Oh my
and
God.
then at the end, you know, he put the cherry on top of the icing by farting. It was just atrocious. Like that was probably the worst experience that I've had at an event. Like, oh, I just want to turn around, punch him right in
Yeah.
you know,
then,
the needle dick.
And then when I was pregnant, that was bad. I that was like guaranteed.
Oh, well, yeah, your senses were all like on fire.
I mean, literally, like I told you, I was like, if I didn't get that end seat, there was gonna be a problem. I could not. I can't tolerate. I can't take being too close to people. It just makes me. It gives me so much anxiety. It really does. And we've had to move so many times in open areas, and I don't care if I have to stand as long as I know that I can leave at any point. I'm okay. But I don't like tight spaces. I really don't. I mean, that's when we went to Fenway Park.
Oh my God,
that was terrible.
Fenway Park was wild.
I was like, and I'm so pregnant. I'm like, oh my God, please help me. Terrible.
Indeed.
Well, I know my last experience with SmackDown was downwind of these guys. At least one of them had, I'll call it soap for cologne. It wasn't they hadn't taken a bath. It was like they used soap for cologne, and you could smell soap and it. Oh, yeah.
Oh God.
You know, like whenever you go to these shows, I mean, you talk about going at your own risk. I mean, like it doesn't matter, pandemic, no pandemic, you're going at your own risk in terms of, you know, what germs you're going to be exposed to. I wouldn't be surprised if COVID started at a wrestling event.
You know what?
People are very, very dirty.
I honestly, it wouldn't surprise me.
And you're around people where cheese and bratwurst is basically a staple of their daily diet.
Although I will say this though, I will be in the minority when I say this. I rather somebody have BO than wear like a strong perfume or cologne or like a nasty like whatever.
That's just weird. That's
I rather smell BO the whole night. I really did.
That's so
yeah.
weird.
No,
so
I can't take like scents. I can't.
Let's talk about the show.
Let's get away from.
We kick off the show. Well, first of all, tell us about Main Event. What do we have to look forward to on Main Event that I'm never gonna watch?
I was, I'm like, they still do this stupid show. They still do this, and so the first match was Tamina against Dana Brooke for the 24/7 title.
Ugh!
And it was okay. I mean, it was okay, but it's like, okay, what, and then the next match was Apollo Crews and Commander Aziz against the Hurt Jobbers, or the Hurt Business of Cedric Alexander, and Shelton Benjamin. They didn't really call them the Hurt Business, and they came out to Cedric's music, so that shows you the I'll call them the Hurt Jobbers.
It was so weird.
And Apollo and Commander Z's, or as I call him, Mayor McCheese, won that match, and those were the two matches. My uncle did point out one thing. He said on that Commander Aziz, he said he's wearing Commander, like the things up there, but he has the little chevrons on, which is more for an officer. So there you go, Vince McMahon and them not knowing military protocol.
True, but who knows what happens in where's Apollo Crews from?
I don't know.
Nigeria.
Who knows how they do their uniforms in Nigeria? They might be all backwards.
The interesting thing is Apollo's music is I did it for Wakanda. That is his music is that I was sitting there listening to it. Oh, and a little quick observation. I noticed something. I noticed it all night. They have a clock that keeps up with the time. So they have this clock, and you can see it where the area where they have the camera equipment, and they have this small area over on the other side locked off, and I could see where it was telling it was like it's 6:49, it's 7 so and so. So I'm like, okay, they're keeping time. They want to know when they want to make sure they don't go over.
Oh, that's interesting.
Mm. Well, I remember at the at the Hall of Fame, they have like a big clock, so like you got the stage, and then like all the way back, they have a clock that just basically tells them how long they have to talk or like whatever.
Yeah, I do remember that, but they don't ever
Vince
follow
comes
it.
out and pulls you off the stage like he did to Bob Backlund.
That was the only person I remember him doing that to.
That's the only person he ever did it to. No, they also did pull Mr. T off the stage as well. They sent Kane out there to get him out of there because he was talking about his mother too much or something like that. I don't know. I don't remember, but it was really weird. It was deeply weird. So, all right. So Dana Brooke, still 24/7 champion. I'm assuming Apollo and Sneeze won. So,
yeah, they did. Yeah.
So, show kicks off with the steel cage match. I thought, look, anytime Raw kicks off with a match, me, I'm going to be a happy camper.
No matter what it is,
because I kept track for that one. It was basically a year and a half before they had a show that didn't start with a segment.
It was.
I thought it was a hard hitting cage match. I liked the finish to it. I liked that they didn't just because it's non-title doesn't mean that the champion has to lose every single time. They do that all the time, especially with the tag champions. Damian Priest hasn't lost in a long time since Miz beat him in his underwear at night after WrestleMania. He hasn't been pinned since then. It's not. It doesn't have to be an automatic L if it's a non-title match. And I like that Big E won this match because I think they can tell the story that Kevin Owens can't win if he's not cheating. And he wasn't cheating tonight.
Yeah.
I thought it was pretty good storytelling. I thought it was a good hard hitting match. I thought they worked hard.
I loved it.
Let's go Victoria, and then we'll hear the live thoughts.
Yeah, I loved it. I like anything hard hitting, and I like anything that is going to grab your attention. And I think it was a good way to start up the show. Not only was it a match, but a steel cage match makes it even more special. Granted, you can't do this every week, obviously. It had a purpose to it, and it made sense. I liked the story along with the hard-hitting moves.
Mm-hmm.
I was a happy camper, and it sets a good tone for the show. What about you, Andrew?
Absolutely. Andrew, what do you think?
I was surprised that's the match they started out with, because I kind of thought, one thing I was happy about is they blasted in a bunch. So I guess that pushed in more interest, into the show, but for people to come out for it. But I really enjoyed it. It's it's a great. Oh, and I guess the big thing is because we have had, I don't know how many, but they tend to bring the steel cage match to Memphis. Not that we could do the Hell in a Cell. You could put the Hell in a Cell in the FedEx Forum, baby, no problem. And and then we could even have Elimination Chamber, but that's a different thing. But anyway, I really enjoyed it. It was was very hard hitting, and Seth being out there, and what you didn't like times get to see on camera, he was just he was pulling his stuff around and being kind of goofy and stuff, and it was a fun match, and I really enjoyed it, and it really there were parts where it was kind of quiet, but it may have been even on TV that you didn't pick it up, but it did pop, and the crowd popped, especially they popped for the big moves, and
of course, yeah,
and that was the big thing, and where other crowds, they just it's may not pop. They pop for every move, and this is kind of like, well, we're gonna pop for the big moves and stuff. So, a little bit different, but yeah, it was very enjoyable, and I was surprised, especially with Seth being around. I thought he was gonna cost it for somebody, but that Big E won. I was, really pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that, and I think like the both that you said before, that was the best move they could have made with that for him to get the win at the end.
Yeah, I thought that was just the smart thing to do.
Mhm.
With again, he doesn't need to lose. Kevin Owens
No.
doesn't particularly need to win. Kevin Owens already got over on both
Mhm.
Seth Rollins
Mhm.
and Big E last
Yes.
week.
Yes.
So he can give a little back.
It was
here.
a
And
good
again, the story
continuation.
could be that he didn't cheat. He couldn't manipulate his way in a steel cage, but he certainly can manipulate his way in a triple threat.
Right.
But that triple threat's probably going to become a fatal four-way now, because after the match, Bobby Lashley attacks everybody. So I guess you don't, ladder matches don't particularly make you number one contender, I guess. It's like, poor Seth Rollins really getting hosed here.
And I was like, well, okay, are they, because they had mentioned to have that dark match that they didn't have, that they were going to have a fatal four-way, and I'm like, later in the night for the WWE title at, dark match, but they didn't have it. And I kind of thought, well, maybe this is, and that's good, what they're going to test and say, okay, let's do this at day one. And I'll do one little quick address. I saw Goose come in, said about the POV. Apologies on that. I'm having to use my cell phone. My computer's in the shop being repaired, and I'm having to use somebody else's, and the camera on the computer did not work, so I'm having to use myself instead.
Andrew, don't even worry about it. Seriously.
No big deal. No big deal.
No biggie.
We're getting by. We're getting by.
And first of all, how many times did our audio not work for weeks?
Remember that one time we went 5 minutes with
Yeah, remember that one time we were like, blah, 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 blah.
No, you can't even hear that.
If I'm still down at the FedEx Forum, how am I going to do this? And come, I know y'all wanted me on the show. I was like, how am I going to do this at the FedEx Forum? And because I know it could get noisy and other things and stuff like that. So I was kind of glad I could make it home, and do it from the.
You're doing good, Andrew.
So this show, for the most part, after the title match, and other than the Miz TV segment with Edge, this show was like chock full of matches that had some really bad endings or just weren't that great at all. There's a lot of dead time between that steel cage match and the Miz and Edge, and then the Miz and Edge to Becky Lynch versus Liv Morgan.
Yeah. I mean, live, it really wasn't bad that it comes off on TV.
Of course.
Coming off on TV, that's the difference, kind of be the difference, because, it's kind of like not being at event for a long while, and we've been watching, and it's like, this stuff's bound TV. How is it bad at the shows? And it doesn't come off, but, and one thing my uncle commented about, some of it, which he's not familiar with a lot because he doesn't keep up with it like I do.
Right.
But you talk about a lot of them, and a lot of it just messed up moves and didn't remember moves and stuff. And he was commenting about, that's kind of like some of these guys are not wrestlers in the future, at least WWE wise, wrestle wise. These people aren't, wrestlers anymore. And it's like, what's the future gonna look like, What are you gonna have left when the ones that have been semi-developed are gone?
Oh well, and who are those guys that are even semi-developed now and are that could go? It's like Kevin Owens is gonna he's got one foot out the door and the other on a banana peel. You
Yeah.
got AJ Styles, who this is his last wrestling contract. He's even gone ahead and said that.
Yeah.
Randy Orton, who's just he's there until he's not having fun anymore, but he's certainly
And,
like established huge
how
star.
close- I mean, how close with Randy? We got close with Randy maybe quitting because of that Fiend stuff, and that could push him to being like walking out the door. I know Roman Reigns has said which they were making a big deal, the things about what little moment he said about, of he doesn't know how much longer he's gonna go and he's wanting to get into Hollywood, but he's gonna be there till he's gonna be there, but I'm kind of looking, and I don't know, I mean, the only thing I can kind of look at is maybe some of these, which will be an interesting time, is second or third generation stars that both parents were wrestlers. That's a rare thing. It's going to be a rare thing because when I was growing up and stuff, you have a second or third generation wrestler, but it's one parent that was the wrestler.
Right.
You have, if like Becky and Seth's daughter wants to get into it, we are hearing Triple H's Stephanie's one of their daughters is actually training. We're going to have some potential stars that both parents were wrestlers, and that's a rare thing.
Although to be fair, Stephanie McMahon's not really a wrestler.
She was decent. She got kind of decent towards when she got older.
She was able to work smart.
Yeah. But but I'll kind of include her, even though
Miz and Maurice.
And Maurice and Miz. Think about that. They're
Monroe and Madison.
Yeah, we got 20 years to wait for that one.
Well, he mentioned Becky and Seth's daughter.
I'm just saying, we got a long time to wait for all.
Okay, so this is I just want to point this out to everybody. Andrew said the same thing about Seth and Becky's daughter. Mike doesn't say a word. I mentioned Miz and Maurice
because you're like it's an automatic slam dunk. Like
I mentioned Miz and Maurice, and all of a sudden I get shit on.
I said something to Andrew. I said Stephanie McMahon's not really a wrestler.
No, but you made no mention of Seth and Becky.
That we have had second, third generation wrestlers that burned out and didn't go nowhere. So it can happen.
Daniel Bryan and Brie Bella.
Yeah.
The Rock's daughter. How about we start with the Rock's daughter? Although the mother's not a wrestler either.
Daniel Bryan and Brie Bella.
That would be fourth generation.
I'll say it again.
I heard you the first time.
Okay.
God. I don't know if WWE's gonna be a landing spot for her. I think they're gonna be eternally mad at Daniel Bryan for leaving.
Well, that's true. But Miz and Maurice they're good with. I think Monroe and Madison will make a good tag team.
All right, let's talk about that Miz. let's talk about that Miz segment. I thought again, like I don't know, like did they kind of rip off like like we watched the Punk MJF thing from the day before Thanksgiving, the promo. I mean, it was a good promo. You can't say it was a bad promo.
MJF was fine. The other one not so much.
I know, because you're mad at him. But like Miz and Edge did like basically almost the exact same thing the next week, and in fact, comparing the two after watching the one, watching the other, I actually thought the Edge and Miz one was just slightly better, actually, believe it or not. Edge tells a really good story. And that, I mean, look, MJF and CM Punk, I'm going to get excited for that match no matter what, but I never expected to be like super amped up to see Edge versus the Miz. And they sold me on that last week. And tonight they have another segment, a Miz TV segment. Again, they get personal. Miz talks about, how he doesn't need Edge's kindness. Where was the kindness in 2006 when he got kicked out of the locker room for, eating chicken or something like that, or whatever it was. Edge didn't help him then, and he doesn't need him now. And I thought it was a really good exchange that is now going to lead to a match at day one. We'll talk to our resident Misfit here, and we'll get the live thoughts.
I really liked it. When I was talking to you about it before, though, I know that you mentioned it, like, oh, it wasn't really as good as last week.
Well, no, it wasn't.
No, but I still thoroughly enjoyed it. There's some genuine interaction there, and there's a really good kind of like back and forth between them. It wasn't the reason why I liked it, their interaction, was mostly because it wasn't like, oh, I talk, you talk type thing. I did feel like, even though it's a typical, you kind of wait for the other person to say what they have to say and then you interject, but I felt like almost like a real conversation, like letting that one person say their piece and then the other person kind of gets what they have to say in. I will agree with you. And this, again, this is not just because I'm a Miz fan. I do find that Edge and Miz had a better, and I'm not saying Punk and MJF didn't have a good interaction. They did. Obviously, they got a lot of attention from that segment. But I will say this, though. I think because like MJF is a little bit more like theatrical and Miz is a little, has toned that down, that part of his character. And I think Edge too just also has that kind of like longevity and realness to it that they're bringing in when they talk about it. And it's a little bit more of like a slight underhanded type thing as opposed to being like so direct. So that's why I enjoy the interaction. I probably overanalyzed a little bit too much, but I do think that it's getting people excited. Not the first people you would pick together to have a matchup by any means, not in my mind at least. Did not think that Miz would be facing Edge and didn't think vice versa. I'm like, well, but these two are together and I'm excited about it. I'm looking forward to it.
All right. Andrew.
Well, I can say, the first thing, one thing, Miz, when I think that was during they had the dance cam and he was being, doing his goofy stuff. He was dancing goofy and stuff to it. I could see him in the ring. And also, I was watching, that, and I know Billy's in the chat, and he's always talked to me about, how he likes in production. That's one thing, being at a live event, you get to watch them in production of, they're changing the ring, they're doing a lot of stuff. So it's kind of, I've gotten into that, watching that. But of course, Edge has a huge, Edge got a huge pop.
Oh, it's great.
I was surprised he got right up in the crowd and stuff. He was kind of Punk, like almost CM Punk. So, or they're watching. I know that, they can say they're not watching. They can say it's not competition, and it may not be competition in the way that we will. It's not in the way of WCW wars, but they're both companies are watching each other.
100%.
Oh yeah.
You can't say that. So him getting up, and I mean that's Edge's style anyway. But that, and then, Miz, I can talk nice, and I might get back on the list. But come on, Miz, you went for the low blow of Miz. Maurice wouldn't come to nowhere, and Memphis, that's how y'all talk. I'm like, yeah, you're pulling your little Andy Kaufman thing there. Okay?
Yeah, I know. I like the Andy Kaufman.
I get,
Don't worry, Andrew, you're not on the list. It was a low blow to Memphis. I will admit that. So I'm not mad at you.
he got booed, but it wasn't a big boo. It was kind of like, okay, yeah, we get it. Ha ha ha. Yeah. It's like, hey, it's kind of like, that had to be Vince's thing. Do a Memphis, do a thing at Memphis. I'll put it on, even Vince probably put that in there. But but I was, and there was a little trivia thing, and I had to think about it. They were talking about, I think Miz got kicked out of the locker room here in Memphis because Edge said it was here in this building right here that I pulled you to the side and I told you I did the same way and stuff. But the big thing was, he said, what the difference between me was a different thing was you came in as a little cocky. You were cocky. You came in there cocky, thinking you're bigger than everybody. And that's one reason he got kicked out by, you know, who can't be named. Chris Benoit is the guy who kicked him out of the locker room. It was Taker also who got Miz back into the locker room because he said that, you know, Taker was like, said, what in the world is he dressing out in the hallway for? And they told Taker was, you know, Chris Benoit did it, and, you know, Chris isn't here anymore. So, and Taker was the one who got Miz back in the locker room, went out there, you know, being the locker room leader he was, and went out there and did that and stuff. But it was, you know, but they threw out trivia that it was here in Memphis. So, you know, I didn't even think about if it was FedEx Forum or Pyramid, but it was FedEx Forum.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was an interesting little tidbit. Again, I gotta tell you, I'm really, really excited to see Edge versus The Miz. I really, really am.
The push is, and I think this is one reason Beth Phoenix is off NXT.
I thought the same exact thing.
I don't know. I think it'll probably be WrestleMania. I don't know if they'll come sooner, if they'll push it sooner, but I think WrestleMania is where they're gonna go with it. Miz Maurice against Edge and Beth Phoenix.
I personally think probably Royal Rumble. I don't know if they can sustain until April.
I think she and like I said, just from like following them, she's training. No, because she hasn't really, think about it. The past like matches that she had, they were like 2 seconds, and I'm not saying it's going to be even like anything longer than that, but she's getting
the matches that she had a couple years ago with Brie Bella and Daniel Bryan. That was like all smoke and mirrors.
She just gave birth, like so. I give her any credit.
Was that 2017?
I feel like it might have been 2017, 2018 because I wasn't pregnant. Yeah, so I feel like it had to be that time. Wait, no, it had to be later because.
No, it was 2017 because they wrestled Nikki and John at the WrestleMania that we went to in 2017. Okay. Was that the last time she wrestled though?
No, she had the match with Brie Bella.
Right. Wasn't that in 2018?
With Daniel Bryan?
Was that 2018? I can't remember.
No, I feel like that might have been a little later because we were kind of like, at one point we were pregnant at the same time.
You and Maurice?
Hold on.
Well, okay, it's gonna get boring if we start both searching on
Can you read what this person wrote? I like what they said.
All right. Well, Victoria made a burner account apparently. Oh, it was 2018. Okay. Victoria made a burner account and is peppering the chat with with Miz facts here. Miz better than John Cena because John Cena won last title at the age of 39, 9 months and 6 days, but Miz won the WWE title at the age of 40 years, 4 months and 13 days. Plus 37 years, 3 months, 14 days. Miz beat 32, 7 months, 28 days Roman Reigns for the Intercontinental title in just 9 minutes, 31 seconds. Even John Cena couldn't do that.
Okay, I don't know who this person is, but you're on the nice list.
On the nice list.
I will have a naughty list, and I will have a nice list, and you are on the nice list, my friend. So
of course, if you're new to the show, let's share and subscribe to the video.
I don't think Quentin's ever been on the list.
Yeah.
No, he's on the nice.
I got sent to the cemetery, so go figure. I got understanding.
We had a brawl on air, so yeah.
I don't know how many older, but Miz is the same age as me, but I'm so many months older than him. And then Randy Orton is older than me, but it's by so many months. We're all 40 years. Well, this year 41. So yeah.
You don't look at Andrew. You look actually younger. Just saying.
Thank you.
You look good.
You're too young for all the wrestling knowledge that you have.
Well, thank you, Matt. I was started when I was 5 years old, so and that was 1985. So think how long I've been watching all this stuff. Absolutely. And I haven't jumped off the thing. There's been people who've went off, and I will only put a little thing is some of the people who have jumped off, I kind of feel like they kind of don't want to get off the bridge too much because they'll react to something AEW says, they'll react to something that and they'll still kind of be like, I'm like, I thought you were supposed to I thought you wanted to get away from this. I really did, but you're still kind of hanging around and stuff, and you get mad about it, and then I'm like, well, who's paying y'all or something? I mean, why do you really care? I mean, Vince isn't giving y'all money and stuff. So
Right.
why get upset about this? And people get too upset about and get caught up in. I'm like, it's nothing to get caught up in.
I know.
It's just,
Well,
just try and enjoy it when you can, and things like that.
they get triggered so fast.
Yeah.
They really do. And people like negativity. So, this is how it is. Main event. How was the atmosphere for that main event? Were they actually really thinking Liv Morgan had a chance?
I think there, I didn't. I kind of was hoping that maybe, because it's kind of like, to me, it's like, Vince has said this, expect the unexpected. I'm like, when have you did anything unexpected, Vince? It's been a long time. You used to, even on house shows. I remember there was a house show where they had the tag team titles changed with the Natural Disasters beat Money Inc. And you just don't have this anymore. They used to, like, I mean, I think I remember maybe A Guerrero won the Intercontinental title here. There's been there's been a lot of, like, was unexpected changes. We had Alexa Bliss beat Sasha Banks right after the pay-per-view in Memphis. The next night, I think pay-per-view was in Nashville, and the next night, that kept that long streak of saying that Sasha Banks was, that every time she won a pay-per-view, the next night she lost the belt. She couldn't keep it.
Right.
We haven't had, so it would have been kind of maybe exciting, but at the same time, I was like, no, it's not going to happen. But there's a part of you kind of like going, oh, I hope it happens, maybe, because they did kind of up the earlier in the night. I don't know if it came on the TV or not, but they had, the history this week in WWE history, which was weird that done one of those. It was like, the Trish Stratus, which I had forgot about that one. Trish Stratus and Lita,
great match.
Main event, first women's main event on Raw, and probably in a main event for women, and like a long time later ever. It was just, because I know even on the territory shows, women were relegated to third or fourth match. It was not, it was a thing, but they hyped that up, and then they were, which it was kind of during the which cam, what, I can't remember which cam it was, but Becky was kind of, when she was in the ring and they were kind of changing the ring and she stood on the ropes, she was kind of dancing along to whatever I can't remember what.
Nice.
Oh, the sign cam. It was the sign cam thing that they do. That was the last cam thing they did, where they go around the arena getting everybody saying. She was kind of getting dancing on the ropes on that.
Right.
But they hyped up Liv Morgan. They did
the video package for her.
Her growing up, that she was a WWE fan. She had dreamed of that moment, and they hyped that up. And the crazy thing is, when they come out and then it comes back on, coming back on TV, it makes it feel like that they've had their interest music has been playing forever, as not is turned off while you're in commercial break. They before the match, they've got the music turned off, and when they come back, they turn the music back on their interest.
Yeah.
So that's the thing, Andrew. You make a good point again. It really does show the differences between what we're watching at home and what you're seeing there, because like you said,
well, they give you a good experience.
Well, they give you an experience in the sense of, like, because you asked him in the beginning of, before he answered the question about the main event, like, oh yeah, does anybody actually really think that? I think in the back of your mind, you really know, okay, Liv Morgan's not going to win. However, the way the atmosphere is, you almost catch yourself into thinking like, oh, maybe there will be a different outcome.
Well, I thought the same thing as Andrew, actually, because when Vince kept saying, like, expect the unexpected, it's like, well, he keeps saying that, when's it going to happen? And then they, they're really pumping up Liv Morgan. They give them the big entrances, the big, ring announcements. Yep. But as soon as they showed the video of her growing up, I was like, she's losing.
Right.
They're doing this just to piss people off now.
But when you're in it, though, like you get yourself fooled, and then once you
when you're there, especially after you see a show.
The other thing of it is, and it's kind of thing, eventually this the unexpected is going to burn out a casual fan and stuff, because you don't see that and it doesn't happen. It's just a turn off at some points.
I actually thought that they were giving such crap endings on the show tonight. Like, like we had that awful count out with Dewdrop and Bianca Belair's awful.
There were 2 countouts tonight. I counted that two countouts. I'm like, really?
I know. And a Damian Priest match, which was nothing to write home about. And so we had 2 countouts. 2 basically lame matches with in the RK Bronament, and one of them was that count out. You had Queen Zelina versus Nikki Ash, which was just not good. Damian Priest, who just looked like he was wrestling underwater tonight. I don't know. He just nothing seemed fluid there. The only thing that was like halfway even good was Finn Balor and T-Bar. But I was like, okay, maybe they're like just going heavy on like the bad endings tonight, so that when you finally get that good ending, you're gonna like really pop. But no, it was just like it kind of left me with a sour taste in my mouth. And watching it from home, I'm sure like there's been plenty of Raws that we've been to that were probably bad on TV that we enjoyed in person.
Yes, it's
the only one that like I was really the only show that I ever left where I was like, oh my god, that was just awful, was the show that they had Kathy Lee and Hoda on.
That was the worst.
That was one of the worst shows I've ever been to.
That was the worst.
I think that was the same night that The Rock came out, so I can't really say that was one of the worst shows I've ever been to. That was that one where they had Rock out there with Rusev and
was
Lana.
This where we went with all my cousins?
Yeah. And then The Rock like randomly came out. That was actually pretty cool. But that show was just like 2.5 hours of misery.
No, it was
that one great segment.
But you know what though? It really is one of those things where you'll never really fully get it, what the fans experience, unless you're there with them.
Yeah.
Like I didn't necessarily like, I agree with you, Mike, that I thought a lot of the ends obviously weren't good. And, there's a lot of kind of like lull moments and things that just didn't really flow and didn't really groove like it normally has in the past few weeks, especially because, these past few weeks, I've been kind of having a little bit of higher expectations just because I have been enjoying the Raws. So when you finally get like a Raw that's kind of like meh, right? Then you're thinking to yourself like, oh, well, that sucked because last week was really good, or the week before they had a really good, like kind of continuous path of good shows. So, but when you're there, it's a totally different ball game. It's a totally different experience, ambiance, if you will. And you're just getting a different vibe. But this wasn't like, I wouldn't say it's like, oh, the worst show or it's like an awful show. It's just kind of like it's just kind of like there for me.
The steel cage match was a good way to
yes,
the show.
Absolutely.
I like that.
And I
like I like the Raw women's title match. I thought it was good. I like the Edge and Miz segment. But the Raw women's title match, it ended the show. It's like I would have rather have kicked off the show rather than and ended with the steel cage if that was the finish that they had.
Yeah,
the flip flop would have been good.
My biggest fear and they hadn't said the steel cage. They hadn't said that for a few weeks when they just had the Raw women's title. I thought they're gonna kick it off. It's gonna kick off Raw. We're gonna have some screwball finish, and they'll put it in later the night. It might even. Somebody else comes out, and then we get some triple threat or one because like they did that 1 week with the men's one of the WWE title or something. They had some screw finish, and then it came back later in the night, and it was still crap. It was and I felt that's what they were. I'm like, if you do that, you could potentially because you're coming back. And you pull some of this stuff at places, you're gonna be like, people are kind of like, I don't want to come back to this crap. Yeah, you don't give a crap about us, and why bother coming to? But and my big thing, I got it. The women's title match really, I got pumped up for that, and it was pretty good. And at the I mean, to get me to pull me out of kind of my seat and go, Becky Lynch, she cheats, she held the ropes. I'm like yelling that she's held the ropes and get that. And there was one, I don't know if I probably didn't come on TV, but Bianca came out. It may have been when it went off. Bianca came out and threw Becky back in that, and Liv hit her move on her. And then after that, Bianca and Liv hugged, and then they played Liv's music, and Bianca went out, and she went out to the crowd. But Bianca was over, but the big thing is, she's from Tennessee. She's from Knoxville. She's former UT. I call her because, well, my grandfather was a big UT fan, but there were other. I'm not so big of a UT fan, Tennessee fan, more of a Memphis fan. My other team is Iowa, which would be a long story why Iowa's my other favorite school. But but she was over because people know she's from here in Tennessee, and and I call her my UT ball gal because she's former UT track star, and I knew about her for a long time from the track thing, so I knew how talented she was from that.
That's
But
A
awesome.
volunteer.
over, yeah,
That's
she
pretty
was
cool.
all over. But that match, it was kind of the dewdrop match. It was okay, but it was like okay, and then that was the count out, and then we had that other count out, and
Right.
just to push, I can see that almost, that's gonna be a breakup with him and AJ.
And not a minute too soon because AJ Styles is being wasted.
My other thing is, and I was surprised that God, I would tell you, I'm a fan of Zelina Vega, but that almost kind of a little bit of a Canadian destroyer on Nikki Ash. Although I will tell you, Scarlett, Karrion Kross's wife pulled off at indie show a really wild, wow Canadian destroyer on some guy and stuff. But that was that move wasn't bad. But my thing, I'm starting to kind of wonder, and I think this is going to be in that relationship with Nikki and Rhea. Somebody's going to turn heel, and I think it's going to be Rhea is going to beat Nikki up at some point, and I think that's going to be a breakup in a.
I hope Nikki Ash is the one that turns heel because I just want her to ditch that gimmick. I mean, it's such a dead end.
For it to be a swerve and it's the other way, but I'm kind of thinking they're going to go because I think at one time Rhea was a heel at one time, and she comes off sometimes with
They didn't know what the hell they were doing with her. Can you imagine? They had a second chance to actually do something with Rhea Ripley, and they botched it twice.
And he was a heel at one point when she started or something. I think, I'm not sure, I can't remember, but I think in NXT, Rhea at one point had the heel had a heel thing. I think I can't remember.
She did.
NXT
She did.
Until recently, I've started NXT and stuff.
Yeah. No, she did.
They had two chances to figure it out. They screwed up last year, then they screwed up this year. It's incredible.
It really disappointed me.
How do you have a commodity like Rhea Ripley and mess it up that bad?
I know, because Andrew, I know you said you didn't really watch when she was in there, but I did, and I really liked her. And I was expecting way more because I'm like, she almost had like this character. It was very built in, but WWE notorious for screwing things up.
Yeah.
It's like they messed it up so bad, and you're like, how did they really mess it up that bad when it was kind of like a built, like almost like it was like a home run? And
it's not often that like I look at somebody and I'm like, this one, they're not going to be able to screw this one up because it's
and that's how
good.
I thought about her too.
There's very few people that I've ever really thought that about, and I think almost universally they did find a way to screw it up.
They did. It's incredible.
She was
very unique. She I wouldn't say she was like fantastic, but she had a lot of potential. Like she had, like it was definitely to the point where they saw something. She had that drive. There were certain things in the show tonight that just led you to kind of think of, I would have done that differently.
Yeah.
I would have done that differently. But
is what it is.
It is what it is.
They're right now. What they're trying to do is we have a few more weeks till day one. We also have Christmas in between there. They're just trying to just basically get us to the week of Christmas, and then make the final build.
But not the worst show tonight.
No, it was good. It was fine. Fine enough.
We're gonna wrap things up.
It was good for Andrew Elder.
Yeah. And for tonight, I could say there's a lot of people I could say they dropped the ball on because Finn Balor is one. I think even I'll throw out there, even though she's popping at times, Bianca Belair, they've dropped the ball.
They big time. She
never
recovered from SummerSlam.
Up and down Raw, it's almost like Raw is the league of we dropped the ball on all these people and that. But it was a pretty good show for me live. But there was there was parts, it's kind of like, and it's like, okay, and then that, and then you could kind of feel some of a drag, but it wasn't as much of a drag like I usually find when I'm at home watching on TV. So
Exactly.
Yeah.
had that drag where it's like, oh, I'll just go take my nightly shower or something. I'm done with
Yeah.
Right. You then do something literally else but watching Raw.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, it's good to be back amongst wrestling fans, and I think that's a win for
Sorry, the camera turned
for
off.
Mr. Elder.
Mm.
And we're gonna wrap up the show here tonight. I'm gonna give the show a thumbs up because it kicked off the steel cage match, and I thought the main event was actually pretty good. But it's like almost to thumbs down, almost, because the finishes, a lot of finishes left me with a bad taste in my mouth. But I thought they all worked hard, and I also really liked that Miz and Edge segment.
I will also give it a thumbs up based off of this, literally everything you just said. Steel cage match,
That's so smart.
Miz and Edge.
Daniel Shell, there's no pay-per-view in December. We're just going right to day one.
Yep.
Andrew Elder.
I'm good. I'm gonna give it a thumbs up. I'm gonna give it a thumbs up for being back live. It was a year and 11 months and 3 days since I had been to any event, anything, really a whole lot. So for me, thumbs up. I get the same feeling though, because even live it was kind of like, oh well, some of this isn't. So it was kind of, but it's still thumbs up for having fans back, and stuff, and that we got, because it looked like this show was going to be like before a low crowd, and I don't know what the numbers will end up being. The only other thing I can say is, used to these low numbers cause a panic, but now we know Vince really doesn't care as long as he's making money, and he found him. Nick Khan has found him a new way to make money, so he doesn't care, because this would have been panic. These numbers would have been panic. And I know you can say, I do think some parts is COVID fear is still in there. That's causing a lot on the hits on the numbers. It was, it's the holidays that's over, and money's tight. So, and these tickets aren't, because there were some areas where, like down where we were sitting, but down low, the tickets were $300 a piece.
Oh my
for
God.
seats, that I know at one time I got for $75. That's kind of asking a lot to.
It is. It's asking a lot of people, especially during these times.
Especially around the holiday season, and
some people still aren't working.
And it's December, and historically these shows are really nothing in December. So like they've actually made a better effort. I felt like this fall was a much better effort.
Mm-hmm.
But for the most part, still, it's like $300, holiday season. But they don't really care. I mean, can you imagine, like, you have people paying $300 to see your show, but they don't really care about the live gates anymore.
No.
They just don't. All right, everybody. Andrew, thank you for joining us. That's another win for us tonight. We had Mr. Andrew Elder on the show, the Wrestleview Fiend.
Thanks for having me on. And
of course,
we're glad you had the time, sir. We'll probably see you next week.
Yeah.
What's
next week?
Next week, because Mom's got her injection stuff next week. So I'll probably the week after, if you have a show, I'll be around. Yeah.
Sounds good, my friend.
Yeah, we'll be there next week.
All right, everybody. Have a good one.
Bye,
I'm Mike
everyone.
Tedesco. That's Victoria. That's Andrew Elder. Have a good one. We'll see you next week, everybody.
All right.